One girl moved into a new apartment. She had been saving up for it for a very long time and was finally able to buy it. The first thing the girl did after moving in was to explore the yard and the area around it. She really liked her new neighborhood. It was thickly planted with trees. There were new houses all around, and the people she met were very friendly and smiled a lot. But what the girl liked most was that there was plenty of space around the house where she could walk her dog. After all, she had been dreaming of a dog for a very long time. Returning home in the evening after a walk, the girl saw a very sad man. She asked him why he was sad, because it was a very warm evening and everything was blooming. The man then told her the story that his granddaughter had been missing for hours. He went around all the yards, but found no trace of the girl. The girl asked the man if he happened to have a picture of the girl because she would love to help him find her. She told him that she was probably just out with her friends somewhere and not to worry. The grandfather showed the girl a picture of his granddaughter on his phone, and the girl went looking for the missing girl. She questioned everyone she met along the way, but no one had seen the girl. The girl was upset. But suddenly, a friendly couple informed her that they had seen the girl just a few minutes ago on the playground in the yard of a neighboring house. The girl ran there. She was in a hurry, for night was already falling. Running was uncomfortable for her because of the high heels she wore to be elegant when meeting her new housemates. There was indeed a playground in the yard of the neighboring house, in the center of which stood a new slide that is usually put in the yards of many apartment complexes. There was no one around. It must be late for a walk, the girl thought, and all the children had gone home. She started walking around the playground and calling her grandfather's granddaughter by name. She shouted her name loudly, but no one responded. Suddenly, a hunched old woman appeared on the platform. She told the girl to get home immediately and never show her face on the playground again because it wasn't safe. The girl was surprised and upset. After all, this was the first rude resident of her new apartment complex. She tried to build rapport and be friendly. But the hunched old woman swung her cane at her, and the girl hurriedly left the playground. After a while, she decided to go back because she thought that this hunched, angry old woman might have something to do with the girl's disappearance. She went back to the platform under cover of night and saw that the old woman was still there and that she was holding a doll in her hands. The girl was shocked, for it was this very doll that was in the picture her grandfather had shown her. The girl was sure that the hunched old woman was somehow to blame for the girl's disappearance. She lurked in the bushes and watched the hunched old woman. Sometime later, the girl saw that she had left the playground and threw the doll near the children's slide. Subtitle editor A. Semkin corrector A. Egorova. After waiting for a while, the girl decided that she should pick up this doll. She walked over to the slide, and as she was picking up the doll, she heard a child's crying coming from the slide. The girl looked inside the tube of the slide, but she couldn't see anything inside. But the sounds of baby crying became even more distinct. Then the girl decided to call the girl by name. She bent low to the slide, but immediately recoiled, for the stinking odor from the pipe made her eyes water and her head swell. But covering her mouth with a handkerchief, the girl still shouted the girl's name loudly into the tube of the slide and heard someone there. Someone inside echoed. The girl decided to shine her phone's flashlight inside the slide. She leaned over and slipped her hand inside the slide. Farther and farther, she shoved her hand in there, but saw no one. Then she decided that it would probably be easier for her to get into the slide with her head. But how to do this? For the slide reeked very much of rot and foulness. Finding a mask in her bag, the girl climbed the slide. Leaning on one arm, she decided to poke her head inside the slide. But suddenly she felt pain in her arm, which was resting on the edge. Being waist deep in the slide, the girl raised her arm where she felt pain and saw that she had scratches on her arm. Lowering her eyes, the girl saw that inside the slide, along its edge at the top and bottom were sharp teeth, which she had hurt herself on. The girl was frightened and decided to leave the slide, for it was not normal that the slide had teeth. At that moment, a drop of sweat flew off her head and fell to the bottom of the slide. In the same second, the slide seemed to come to life and began to move. Still waist-deep in the slide, the girl decided to get out of it as soon as possible. Leaning on the sharp edges with her teeth, she tried to climb out of the slide as carefully as possible so as not to tear her new dress, which she as well as her shoes had put on for the first time to be elegant when meeting her new neighbors. At that moment, everything inside the slide began to shrink, and the girl was able to get out of the slide at the last moment, exactly 1 second before the slide clenched its steel jaws. After moving some distance away, the girl realized that her hands were injured and her new dress was torn. She thought it was urgent to run home, and that's what she would do. But at that moment, she saw a girl's doll near the slide and immediately realized that the girl, just like her, had probably climbed inside the slide and could not get out of there. The girl decided to go back to the slide. There was no doubt in her mind that the slide was alive and that it might not be a slide. As she carefully approached the slide, she saw that at the top of the slide on its roof, large angry eyes appeared on the roof and stared intently at the girl. She decided the slide was probably some kind of monster. Otherwise, how else to explain the eyes that followed the girl's movement around the set? Moving closer to the slide, the girl called the girl's name loudly once more, and I heard a baby crying inside the slide. In that minute, she was finally convinced that the baby was inside and had to be saved. Throwing off her new shoes, which she wouldn't feel comfortable climbing the stairs in, the girl decided to go upstairs and help the girl out from there. In 1 second, after climbing the steps, she was at the top of the slide tube and saw inside the very girl her grandfather was looking for. The girl was both pleased and saddened at the same time. She was happy to find the baby, but didn't understand how to get it out of there. She stuck her hand inside the slide. Preliminarily inspecting its outline, she realized that there were no teeth there, and it would be impossible for the slide to bite off her hand. Girl's hooked. She clutched at her arm, but instead of climbing out, the girl began to pull the girl inside the slide. With all her might, the girl tried her best to stay on top of the slide and not slip inside. She didn't understand how such a little girl had so much strength to drag her inside. There was a horrible stench coming from the slide, and the girl clutched at the girl with both hands and pulled her down. Realizing that the forces were not equal and that at any second the girl would slide down, she started screaming and calling for help. She hoped that one of her new friendly neighbors would hear her cries for help and come running to help her. And oh, my goodness, a figure approached her from the bushes. At first the girl didn't realize who it was, but then she could make out. It was the same hunched-over old woman. This time the old woman began to beat the slide with all her might with her cane and shouted the phrase, "Honey, hold on," to the girl. But it didn't help, and the girl fell inside the slide where the missing girl had dragged her. The inside of the slide turned out to be dark and damp. At that second the girl's hands let go of her, and the girl saw the girl dashing down the slide and out of it. The girl hurried to follow, but at that moment the jaws of the slide closed, and the girl did not have time to get out. She only had time to stick out her hand, which the slide could not bite off only because the girl was wearing a wide metal bracelet, which saved her from the jaws of the slide. At that minute, the girl felt the teeth of the slide being hit hard with something heavy. The slide howled, Ollie shuddered, and spit the girl out onto the set. The slimy and wounded girl saw that she had been saved from death by the same hunched old woman who had told her that the slide was a monster that had been created by a crazy family instead of a dog. This family places a slide here and there, moving from place to place. The grandfather portrays a grandfather who has lost his granddaughter. The girl's parents act as random passers-by who say where they have seen the girl, and the girl acts as bait and at the right moment pulls gullible citizens inside the slide. The girl was shocked. for she had not heard of such a monster before. The old woman confessed that she had been following this family for a long time because her husband had once died in this slide while rescuing a girl. Since then, she's been following the movements of the crazy family and rescuing people caught in the slide. The girl thanked the old woman in confusion and thought that this evening had been terrible. The only thing that pleased her was that her shoes were unharmed. Putting them on, the girl quickly ran home. Hello, everybody. If you like this animated story and you want as many cool videos on Animator channel as possible, then be sure to put a like under this video, write comments, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click on the bell. Stay with us.